It has been a long, wild month of Elestrals gameplay. The meta has evolved from our last time we've been together. I'm sorry we couldn't get the coverage for the March 8th tournament, but Dallas Open showed that this game is wide open. This meta is unreal, and I cannot wait to see where it goes from here. But first, the post-mortem is necessary. Let's talk about Dallas Open with our two guests. First up, we have always the bridesmaid, but never the bride. Solar's strongest soldier, my man Trishula. Trish, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm a little sick, but I'm just happy to be here. Happy to be talking about Elestrals. You know I love yapping. I'm such a big fan of yapping.
You know, I didn't say this before we recorded. Let's try to keep this within an hour, okay? Let's try to keep this one within an hour.
That's not going to happen.
And also introducing the runner-up, second place from Dallas Open, Swoleax. Give it up. Give it up.
That's right. You know, I'm the newest addition to the bridesmaids party here. No, it was a good run. I loved it. I actually got my rabbit back here for a little bit of scenery. This thing's been gorgeous on the shelf. So really happy to represent
my background
D-Town.
is green screen. So
Sure.
whatever. Actually, he's probably green screen.
He's probably going out too.
Hold on, wait, I got it. Vote clips. Here you go, Kay.
Oh.
She's also sick. Everyone's getting sick right now. But what is sick is all the gameplay we got to see at Dallas Open. I cannot wait to talk about all of this. If you guys enjoy at home, let us know by hitting the like button and tell us your favorite parts in the comment section below. But right now, it's time to do the most important thing. Talk about the divine decks of Dallas Open 2025. The top cut of Dallas Open 2025 was unbelievably diverse. Of the 16 possible decks, we had 10 different deck archetypes represented. And while they all did something different, they all brought their own unique strategies and flair to the game. We had Pentara in third place. We had Artifacts. We had Argo. The interesting thing I want to talk about first is that there was no Zeus in finals. Swole, you were there in finals. What happened to make you say, Zeus is not needed in my deck, Zeus is not needed in this format, or this meta call right now?
Yeah, so I mean, boy was I there. So the thing with Demeter versus Zeus right now is that those have been some of the strongest divines inside the entire game for a long time now. Functionally, they both do very similar things, but with key differences. Zeus on a very wide board, if you yourself have a lot of Elestrals, allows you to better combat an opponent's Elestral. But Demeter can really highlight the strength of one singular Elestral. And in most cases between both Bose and my list, for example, playing some of these strongest like single Earth Elestrals like Equilinx, like Viserys, and even in Bose's case, playing things like Lumaru, you don't really need more than a 7 or an 8 statted guy. So Demeter pairing well with those Elestrals, on top of the fact that is like one of the best Nexus banks for one of the most powerful Nexusers, Equilinx, was kind of the meta call there, I think, in both cases. Again, also pairs well with its own artifact, so Scythe of Demeter was a big reason for that inclusion too, which we saw that being played by both myself and Bo.
Yeah, the artifacts, as you just mentioned, with Scythe of Demeter and Argo in general, just seem to be the major play to go into this format. Typically, the old battle trick was Altar of Stars, which is definitely still possible with a list like yours, but you're opting for the stat boosting instead with the artifacts. Trish, do you think that battle tricks are the way of the future right now, such as Altar of the Stars, or more specifically Argo, or do you think that this was just a meta call and it's going to shift in the future and maybe Altar of the Stars can overtake Argo?
Yeah, so I think that this event was definitely the event to play Argo. We saw a ton of decks in the top 16 all running it and performing well. But that's kind of the cool thing with Argo, is it's one of those cards that comes in and out of formats, because once the Argo is known, once everybody's on Argo, people start being a little bit more cautious, and they start playing around it, building their deck to beat stuff like Argo. So I think it was for sure a meta call for this event. I think it's gonna remain to be seen for the remainder of Moonrise format whether or not Argo is the way.
I just went to go check it. It looks like we have five decks in the top 16 utilizing Argo. So obviously battle tricks are going to come up. And also, I don't think there's even an Ultra Stars in any of these. So Ultra just, no, there is one. Yeah, we had Argo and Battle and Ultra Stars in that list, along with Golden Fleece and whatnot. So just a lot of, that was actually Bo who did that.
I think both Bo and Swole, you also played it, right?
Yeah, there's some of the key differences between, like, for example, like Rybot playing top 16 Argo with the Fire Nexus deck, and then for us, I think Altar of Stars was kind of our bigger inclusion, because the idea is to really capitalize on every instance of a Nexus. Like, if we have spirits on the board that we're not using, want to make sure to use that. So Altar, like you're saying, was a premier battle trick for a while, and so pairing that with Argo, arguably the most powerful battle trick at the moment, is like the probably the key difference there compared to other strategies that might have been running Argo without it, right?
Yeah, between Scythe of the Meter giving you the +3 defense, Necklace of Harmonia giving you +5 attack, especially with them being Omni and Earth regardless. But you can kind of set yourself up for what kind of strategies and plays you want to do next. So those two just being really potent. Even though I think Necklace of Harmonia is only being played at like one, like each one's being played at one, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's a kind of an either or. In a lot of cases, you're kind of giving yourself coverage. A lot of people would say that Necklace is good at 2, not necessarily a wrong choice, but Scythe Demeter gives you the flexibility of allowing extra defensive protection or healing. So it's like making sure you have all the tools for the job kind of situation.
I can see that. I would only run 2 if I had a Nexus strategy focus, like another deck we're going to be talking about in the Spotlight by Brulock and their Comalis deck. If you're utilizing Comalis and you want a Nexus off of it, I can see 2 Necklace of Harmonia being effective because you can utilize that as a Nexus bank, etc. I do want to go into detail on Bo's list though. The winning deck list, of course, but there were a lot of interesting plays on this build. We had the Rummagem being played at 2 to search out either the Echo Links, the one-of now, which is not something that has been done recently, or the Viceroys, which is at 2. So just searching out the big Earth Elestrals you want to be finding in your build right now. And if you don't see Rummagem, you see them in 2 instead, then oh well, you know. We had the Lustragon, which was promptly swapped out for Heliolith games 2 and 3, but Lustragon did show up. We had a fantastic play with Heliolith, Scythe of the Meter in the Spotlight match as well, so stay tuned for that later on in this video. We had those solo Necklace of Harmonia, we had the Ultra Stars, the side has 2 Heliolith and a 3rd Calf Mel, the Boom Bat, the Resting on Your Laurels, which, you know, alluding into the back conversation we just had, you guys were even saying that Resting on Your Laurels may not even be a good card right now. Would love to touch on that later on. But Bo's list, Trish, how refined is this list? I know you're the one to nitpick on any list. I know this from season 2. Illustriate. How refined is this list?
I think this list is very refined. I think it's a really solid list as well. Bo has had a lot of experience playing this deck, has piloted it to success before, and clearly that success paid off and showed. I also think that this was a very good deck to bring to this event, considering how strong Argo was, because this deck is not only fully taking advantage of the Argo engine itself, but it has the Altar of Stars in it to combo with the Argo package, to deal with opponents' Argos as well, because Altar, one of the best cards into Argo, funnily enough, and having the Helioliths as well on the side, makes this deck just so well built for this event. So yeah, pretty solid, no notes, and even the Laurels in the side, big fan of that. Because like we were saying, you know, kind of off camera, like Laurels maybe not so good. I don't know.
So I want to ask about that. What is it about Laurels that you feel like is not good? It's a card that's limited right now. When you're down in field presence and spirit control or whatever, you can destroy one card with the least amount of enchanting Elestrals. So for a deck that is building wide, not Blisterix, but you know, small wide. Small wide, that's the term. What is it? Resting Your Laurels is insane for that. I actually like that. Small wide, big wide. Anyway.
Small wide, big wide.
but it's good for that. So, Swole, what is it about resting? You're just like, maybe not. Is it the condition or what?
It's kind of a combination of a few factors, but the big two are the comeback mechanic for Laurels requires you to be behind to get its like maximum value. So you have to almost like purposefully put yourself behind, and which can be risky to do, especially against like larger decks, or kind of like you're saying, BlueStacks can sometimes have like a Narpoon or like a Snowlet on the board, and so that's going to just eat up the Laurels instead of what you would want, which is like the BlueStacks. And then the second thing is like look at the decks that are kind of like wanting to run to the side. Like for Bose list specifically, the question you have to ask yourself with Bose list is there realistically going to be a lot of times where you have less spirits on board between your artifacts, the Lustragon, the Fleece with the Cypermall, the Demeter, and the Equilinx? Like you're probably going to have more spirits on board than your opponent 90% of the time. So it would be only in a case you side back in the Laurels where you're like, okay, I really need removal here. That's not Cryoblast. Or maybe I need removal here because my opponent is playing kind of a similar type of strategy. So those are kind of the two big factors is how effective is Laurels? And the second is, can I even activate Laurels? And that's kind of the struggle that you'll have to deal with for a deck like this specifically.
So let me ask you guys both something. Do you think Laurels could come off the limited list?
Ooh, good. We're not quite at hot draws yet, but
No.
I'm
just gonna say hard no.
No, probably no as well. No. Then not to get into hot draw shenanigans. Earthquake and Laurels are kind of the two sides of the same coin, right?
And Cryoblast.
Cryoblast and Earthquake, at least you have to have some like spirit math. Like you have to like be able to kind of function with them at multiple copies and still be able to make your deck make sense. Laurels being Omni is kind of a big reason why it's kind of rough, and in the Lavalith sense, punishes your opponent for like really trying to advance the board state. So you can get into really careful scenarios where this card is maybe a bit too powerful. But at one, it's like, it's a factor you have to account for, but you don't have to feel frustrated about. I think, for at least for my opinion on it. Like that's.
I see. What about you, Trish?
No, I completely agree with that. I think that in card games, especially in Elestrals, it's one thing to have a card and want to play around it and be like, okay, I'm gonna play around it, blah blah blah, and if they have it, they have it, whatever, right? But if you have to do that every turn because they could have it one turn and then they have it the next turn and then they do it again, at that point, you're just going to say to yourself, well, I'm just never going to play any deck that will ever even risk, playing into a card like Laurels. So that was something that we saw when Lavalith first came out, with Laurels at 3, Lavalith at 3. Everyone just stopped playing Divine Runes entirely, because why would I ever put a Divine Rune on the board if my opponent's going to destroy my Elestral that I have on the field, then they're going to play Lavalith, pop my Divine, and then they're going to swing at me for 2, and it's like, okay.
With a 6/4 body, yeah.
Exactly. So, I think that Laurels is like it has its place, but I think at more than one, at least with the current card pool that we have, it's probably still too much.
It's a little risky.
I think the problem with Laurels and why it became such a problem is because of that Thunder build that was here a while back. I believe you guys created it. The lifts and all that. The lava lift, the Arca lift, the race to the top, the Laurels. Like y'all are the reason those cards are limited.
It's true. It's like
actually your fault.
Race to the Top is a good example of this, where it's like the conditions for Race to be good. It was happening a lot, to be fair, but it's also like, compared to a Laurels, I have to have Olympus. We have to have 2 Elestrals on the field. Like oh god, I miss Race so much. Actually, Race can come back. Bring Race to 3.
Agreed. Not a hot take. Agreed.
Okay. I'll fight that one. I don't think Race should come back. I don't think Race should come back because if Race was at 3, right, we would all just start playing Thunder again. Not because Thunder is particularly good or anything like that. It's just like, it's the deck that has the Earthquake. Also, PK, I didn't boo you. I'm going to start booing you.
I didn't say anything. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you didn't. I'm just saying, body language is a language in itself.
Fair. I'm not going to say that. Hey, so before we move on from Bose list, I want to talk to you guys about one thing. Cybermaw, Golden Fleece. I think the one important thing regarding those cards right there is the fact that Cybermaw gets to use spirits from the underworld to get yourself a defensive body that you can protect later on to either use for a Nexus play or use for as a defensive body to go for an Ascension or to set up Heliolith. I think that cards like that are going to tutor an artifact out of deck or anything out of deck to just use stuff from Underworld is going to give every deck so much more longevity, because there's nothing better than reusing resources, not just on the board but the resources you lost. And I think that Cybermaw, you can attest to this from in-person gameplay, Swole. I think that Cybermaw Golden Fleece is really going to be a focus for Elestrals moving forward. What do you think about that, Soul?
Yeah, it's like, so in Firestorm we actually see this quite a bit with like a lot of the new fire cards, like being able to enchant from the spirits.
Wait for
from
Firestorm.
It's cool, like the even something so like innocuous like a solar recharge or solar charge from for the Phosphocell type stuff. Being able to enchant from Underworld a spirit means that you are better, your deck is better off with the spirit efficiency. You can potentially play a little more like aggro, you can play a little more like wild, because now you know, okay, I have Cybermaw, I can let this die and I can use these spirits, and now this artifact is free. On top of that, like the cool thing about Bose list with Cybermaw is that it's like a dual wielding approach. The Cybermaw can help handle defensive play and set up for like a Lestragon, or you have now a defensive body that's hard to deal with, and like a Lumaru, which is an offensive threat that's hard to deal with. And it's like that's kind of the cool part, that as we move forward like Firestorm, more decks can maybe do. That's really strong as a whole, like as a game plan. So yeah, it's cool.
It's going to be really exciting to see what Bose list in action. We're going to be seeing his list and a lot of his strategies showcased in the Spotlight match later on in this video. So make sure you're subscribed and you stay tuned to see our review on that one. But before we move forward, I want to talk about the third place list, Ari and their Pentara list. Pentara is insane in how it can bring out such a huge body. You bring it out just on Battle Destruction, and then you can enchant it however you want, so that way you can avoid many effects. You can enchant it with Lunar to avoid Nobby effect. You can enchant it with Cryoblast to avoid enchant it with Flurmine to avoid Cryoblast. You can enchant it with fire, so that way you can stop burn damage from Eruption. There are so many ways you can play the Eruption, the Pentara, and get those spirits on board however you want. And they fought hard with this list. They even using Nobby as well, so that's hilarious. But this list, third place, getting the third place Astrabit playmat and the card as well. I'm surprised they're not showing it off, but yeah, like Trish, this deck right here, what are your thoughts on it? We do see Zeus, even though it didn't make it to finals, it was close.
I love this deck. I mean, if you guys know me, I do like to look at a lot of Elestrals lists. I do like to look at almost some might even say every list of Elestrals. But I said it before. I kind of like made a prediction maybe a month or two ago that a deck might pop up one of these days that was deciding to play both the Nobby line and the Hydrake line, because I think they just synergize so well together. Just being able to run out bodies that can just crash or beat over an opponent's Celestial and then threaten to flow into another body is really, really strong. So it makes it definitely unsurprising to see that theory play out and do so well. But big fan of this list. Super cool to see Pentara up at the top tables and winning not only one of the prize
top
card
16
Astrabbits,
cards,
but also the top 16 prize card Pentara.
Yeah.
It's just faded.
Absolutely perfect. Just slot that Pentara art in with the top 16 and there you go. Yeah. Swole, this side list. So we've seen a lot of these sides before. We see Viserys there, but two cards I want to pull out specifically. Veritaqua and Cockatoodle. Cockatoodle's a card that was starting to get a little bit of traction thanks to Diemax. They mentioned it and then pilled other casters on it as well. Yeah. And then Veritaqua, a card that was not seeing much play, but has always been good. If you guys don't know what it does, when you attack a defense position Elestral, it suppresses and destroys. So laughs at foamies, essentially. You know, so with this side list, what are your thoughts on Veritaqua and Cockatoodle, but all the choices in general, including the fact that there's no 3-ofs here besides a third of Spectrus, a third of Galaxy, etc.
Yeah, I like the 2-ofs because I feel like in the main deck, taking a look at, like, you have 2 Rabbits, you have 2 Galaxies, 2 Eddies, 2 Spectaris, and so it's like you can just swap those cards in and out, like easier for sighting patterns, as it's called, really. But specifically with things like the Veritaqua, the Boombat, and the Cockatoodles, right? Those are good utility pieces that cover a lot of different matchups. The Veritaqua is like a tech choice, right? You have a lot of change position Elestrals like Sorlet and also like Eddie into the main deck, and so you can combo those really well and get into board positions where it's like, all right, Sorlet, expend to win, change your Elestral to defense, Veritaqua punch, and then Veritaqua suppress, destroy. Really nice removal, really interesting to see pop up in a deck like this that maybe wants to like use Navi, which is like only reduces the attack, right? And that's like kind of cool to help cover both angles of defense and attack. For example, like Navi, to play around Navi, you could have an Celestial in defense, and that's where Veritaqua can come in as well. Cockatoodle is really interesting as well. We do see a lot of more players playing around Galaxy, really strong power player from the past couple formats. Cockatoodle, the suppression, it immediately just like neuters that card and like really just renders it useless. Cockatoodle also can help combat like, I don't know, really like you said, foamies or really weird Elestrals that might have like Spectaris. You can help crash with that as suppressed there. A lot of really strange cases where Cockatoodle can come up and it's a wind card, so you can shove it in natively. And that's kind of the 2 with those, as far as I can see, is that they're really high level tech options where they're not probably auto includes, but really interesting to see.
Cockatoodle and Veritaqua, those 2 cards can really do so much damage to anybody who's not expecting them, who are surprised by them, because just how quickly they can change the battle. And, you know, Cockatoodle is a 4-2, I believe. I want to say 4-2, 4 attacker at least. That's the important stat. But yeah, it can absolutely hit somebody hard. So shout out to Pentara for showing up in such a high placement. And I'm sure, I mean, there's a reason why Pentara sold out, right?
Yeah, let's
go. That card is serious, and it's that dude. I want more Pentara. Give me titled Pentara, please.
Yeah, Pent best deck. Let's go.
Pent best deck. Let's go.
Pent best deck. Let's talk about the best 10 cards in the format, though. We had the top 10 played cards, and they did not shift much from the March 8th tournament. The notable changes is that Zeus, as I said, did not show up in the finals and barely made it to third. It is gone from number 8 from March 8th. It was at 68%. And now Poison Tip Arrow, the card that people were saying isn't that great, did move up to number 10 in 55% of the decks that exist. So what do y'all make of this regarding Zeus going down, which is, you know, it's a steady presence of, you know, you have to deal with this, and PTA going up, being the counter room to say, hey, I'm going to get rid of whatever you may need. Do you think it's just coincidental that PTA went up because Zeus went down, or is there a change in the meta there, Trish?
You know, that's actually like a really weird thing to me, because from my perspective, PTA was on the decline. So seeing it jump back up is actually kind of interesting. The way that I would interpret that is that this is the biggest Elestrals tournament we've ever had. And I think that there might have been
192 players.
Yeah, I think there might have been a lot of players who, you know, were bringing fresh ideas, you know, stuff that, you know, kind of spicing things up a little bit. So I think that might have something to do with how big the field was, rather than whether or not PTA is like on the rise. But I do know when we look at some of these higher placing deck lists, PTA we don't see as frequently in the top 8 as we would have seen in previous tournaments.
If you do see it in the top 8, it's typically in the side. So yeah, I absolutely understand that. So Swole, do you think that when it comes down to those 2 specifically, that Zeus is... Let me ask you like this. How would you choose whether to play Zeus or PTA? Do you think it matters based on your deck, or is Zeus actually good that it can stand alone without a strategy center around it?
So it's really weird because like a lot of the aggro strategies or like traditional, like how we say tempo strategies still I think want to play Zeus. They also, like Trish said, still want to play PTA because it's good into a wide range of decks. I think one thing that even like the rest of the data kind of shows too, and like actually I think the key here is aside of those two cards, there's actually a secret third that I think actually paints the best picture of what is happening with Zeus and PTA.
What's that?
It's Ambrosia. So if you notice, Ambrosia goes down from like the second highest use to 83% in each deck, and then on average it's still per. And this is why. It's one, it's the big El Diablo boogeyman of the room. There was so much Blizztrix at Dallas, and Blizztrix it was like I think it was the highest represented deck in the room. They don't really play on average tend to play Ambrosia. They don't tend to play PTA, and they don't tend to play Zeus. So I think out of the like, if we're seeing really weird anomalies with the top use cards, that could be a reason is because a lot of people were on Blizz. On top of the fact that in general, like PTA going up slightly is because of the other decks that are trying to like cover wide, and then Zeus not being as prevalent because of again like the Blizz shenanigans. So it's like I think maybe that can help answer some of those weird questions like that. I'm just a little bit scared of what that means because I don't want to play Blizz more. That deck's terrifying. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that, Swole, because I think one of the other like footnotes there is that those cards are also not very good against Blizz. So not only does Blizz not play those decks, or play those cards are also not good versus Blizz either. So it's kind of created a scenario where some of these cards we're used to seeing have fallen out of people's decks because everybody's afraid of the boogeyman in the room being the Blizztrix combo deck.
Yeah. Didn't even make it to top 4. Insane. Well, I don't think it did.
Thank you to my Tornagian players. Thank you for doing.
Oh, dude! Shout outs to Adam.
Yeah, Adam.
Like essentially the prototype, the template for every Tornagian build going on right now, and I think it's great. So shout out to them. They showed off what that card is doing, and now everyone is experimenting what 3 cards they actually want to pull out with Tornagian. So cannot wait to see how far they go. But I do want to talk about just the top 10 cards. And the interesting thing to note here is that the total count didn't really change. The only thing that's major is that Cryoblast got ousted for Hurricane. Otherwise, the rest are just shuffled around. Like Shield of Achilles goes from 4 to 6, and Ambrosia and Astrabic goes down. Everything else is the same. Tsunami, Eddie, Poison Tip, Spectrus, and Zeus go from 5 to 9. Cryoblast is down, and Hurricane goes up. So Trish, regarding Cryoblast going down, do you think that's also just because of the boogeyman, or was there just less value or other ways to deal with cards that Cryoblast typically is meant for?
Well, I think Cryoblast is like a really good card overall, and I think that part of it has to do with the boogeyman being Blizztrix, being a Frost deck, and Cryoblast not finding any good targets there. But if we're just looking at main decks alone, I think with a tournament as big as Dallas, it would be really hard to say, yeah, I want to main deck Cryoblast, because Cryoblast is a very targeted card, and usually it finds its home in the side decks, right? So if you know that you're going into a really wide field, you might not feel as comfortable playing something like Cryoblast in the main deck, especially if you're not also playing that Zeus, which, as we saw, is kind of on the decline. Zeus and Cryoblast having kind of a very powerful interaction together. So I think because Zeus is on the decline and because it was such a wide field, maybe people weren't playing it as much. I'd be really interested to see if people stopped siding it, because I think Cryoblast is a really strong card, especially into like what you were saying, Swole, with the Tornagian players kind of locking it down, and they've been performing super well recently. I think Cryoblast is great there, but I think part of it too is the Lunar aggro decks have all started Frost enchanting their Lycovoids as well. So, you know, not able to snipe that prime target feels really bad for the Cryoblast enjoyers.
So, really quick, speaking of Cryoblast, you know, just trying to figure out the text there, and we've been yapping for about 30 minutes already. So, real quick, I want to talk about some of the interesting text specifically that showed up in Top Cut. And these are everything that I noticed specifically. Heliolith, Clutching Finals, Sorry, Swole.
I
Argo
love that
and
card.
Artifacts defining finals. Congrats, Swole.
Thank you.
Scythe of Demeter use up. Congrats, Swole. And Bean Soldier, and Coder, and Trish, and Super Insane, all placing 2nd, 18th, 21st, 23rd, and 39th with Scythe of Demeter in the list. Werepup and Full Moon being used as a small engine in some decks as well. Sorry, Swole. Divine Blessing, shutting down heal control on stream as well, which was really exciting. And Spoiled Fruit being in 12 of the 16 decks. Of all of these tech cards, or tech combos in the case of Werepup, which one are y'all excited to try out for yourself? Or more than one if you have more interest. Swole, you can't choose Mustache shit, but you can choose anything else. What are you interested to try from these top techs?
So it's really funny because like I'm a Heliolith big fan. I know from talking to Bo for like months now that Heliolith has been like experimented with and is like it might be its time to shine. Argo being up is like really cool to see because I think that like we are starting to get to the point where people are realizing the Spirit investment is really strong, and if that pays off, then you put yourself in a very favorable position. Big fan of that. However, and this is going to be like a small tidbit for everyone watching this. I think what comes after those techs is actually been really interesting to me. So while Argo and the artifacts, and by proxy Heliolith, are like really cool tech to play, they are also really expensive. So I know I've been hearing rumblings from a lot of players of particularly counters to, let's just say you have a card that can help punish wide spirit expenditure. So be careful going below 3 spirits at a time. I'll just say that. So I think the stuff from Dallas really interesting. After Dallas, with the inclusion of this in the meta, I think we might come back full circle around to now I have to combat these cards. So those are really cool. So to answer the question, the artifact stuff and Heliolith, big fan, super cool. The things that will come after, terrifying.
If we circle around to Eruption format, it would make me so happy. I'm breaking back out Vasuvatuga.
That's right.
That's for me.
That's right.
That's for me. That's for all the Tuga believers. Trish, of these top techs, which one or how many are you just like, that's a good play. I'm gonna try that for myself next time.
Yeah, no, so there was actually one tech, I don't think you mentioned it, PK, but the Tornadian lists that did well, I think it was Adam Adams' list, was main decking a Quackle. And if I remember what I heard through the grapevine was so that Tornadian can reveal Calfmel, Quackle, and Ambrosia and always find healing, just so that you're staying in the game and staying alive. And I thought that was a really cool tech. And that's not really something we've seen too much from Tornadian, even though it seems so obvious to just play cards that have similar effects so that you always hit what you want. Crazy concept, right? So I know, like, in my own Tornadian lists, I've been trying out stuff. Like, instead of playing 3 Hurricane, I'm playing, like, 1 Hurricane, 1 Thunderstorm, 1 Tornado now. It's like, okay, I'm going to clear a back row. Or, like, if I want one of the stadiums, I play, like, 1 of the Aeolus Temple, 1 of the Sun Temple, and a Jolton. And it's like, okay, I'm finding a stadium.
Yeah, I think that's the best part. MBT actually put that seed in my brain a while ago where you said, you pick out the 3 cards you want and you're going to get the result that you want. You can choose Shield, Tsunami, Gorgon's Gaze if you want to make sure you can stop a monster attack, an Elestral attack. You choose Earthquake, Laurels, and Cryoblast if you want to try out an Elestral on board, something like that. So I didn't know that Quackle was the reason why they wanted a 3rd healing option. That's hilarious, but I love that. So I guess the question would be, and this is to everyone at home, what 3 cards would you run that you want to search off a Tornadian to guarantee your plays? Give me your 3 card combos right now, because I think that's going to open up a lot of meta discussion for the community. That was going to be exciting. But yeah, that makes sense, Trish. Love that. One thing I do love, and talk about Quackle, is having a hot opinion on this game. So let's move into our next segment, the hot draw. So have you guys been seeing those Firestorm reveals?
That's good. Yeah, a little bit. What's up with the Firestorm?
Next to Mara Fallen and Risen is going to be crazy. All the bear support with Hestia. I am so excited for everything that set is going to bring. Real quick, what is something you guys are just like, you can't wait to get your hands on regarding the Firestorm, especially since you guys got the open packs. What is something, Swole, that you are excited to try out with Firestorm?
It's hard for me to say that. I'm looking forward to this one right here, especially. But I also was able to find, they said they heightened the security in Laurels HQ, but that's kind of a little bit up for question. Ardbud
what is that?
With the new Spectaris, super fun. We're looking forward to
Spectaris?
it. That's right, baby.
From where?
That's
you know
right.
what? Don't tell me.
This is the new one. This is the new champion. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is that reveal?
Man, that is beautiful.
Yeah, this has been revealed.
And you got a full-on Hestia or Majersa? Majersa.
Dallas was nice to me. Dallas was nice. That's all I'm saying. Dallas was great. So I'm looking forward to filling out my play sets and then also my decks of these. So
the fact that he just had it on deck was like, yeah, I'm showing up a Firestorm.
They're right here, baby. They're right here.
What about you, Trish? How was Dallas Firestorm packs good to you?
You know what I'm excited for?
Show me.
Solar!
Oh, let's go! Strongest soldier, baby.
Oh, I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Cow is bad, but cow is good, baby. Cow is good.
Cow was insane. What is it? My hot take for this one is going to reference the fact that Elestrals will be entering a new era with Firestorm. So make sure you guys are ready for a small discussion because I got y'all for in just a little bit. But right now, these two jets up here have their own personal hot take. So Swole, what is your hot take on Elestrals right now?
Okay, so we talked about Laurels a little bit ago, maybe being a little too strong. I have one that it kind of relates to the finals of Dallas, but then also of my previous testing with a deck called Centarbor. And shout outs to Helen on this one.
Centarbor!
So
carry on.
It's this hot take stems back from Moonrise. We get things like Cedar Soar, we get things like Paleoth, Centarbor, that kind of deck.
Yeah.
And we would play Panzer. Panzer's a great Nexuser, a lot of value. But if Panzer was Equilinx, these games would be destructive. Equilinx is, I think, still one of the craziest, most powerful cards in the game. Both Bo and I taking it all the way to the finish and being able to pilot decks that can natively support one of the strongest cards in the game is kind of telling. I think Equilinx, unfortunately, love that card, cannot come back to more than one. One is even hot take. One might be too powerful because oh my god, it's crazy. It's crazy.
What about two? What about two, man? Come on, bring back my cat. Bring back my cat.
Earth would be the best deck by far, no question. With Equilinx at more than one.
I disagree on principle.
Also fair. That's fair. You bring it back. I'm down to see what happens. I'm down to take another run, but this time I'll try to take it in actuality. But yeah, that's my hot take. Equilinx too strong.
What about Kinleo? If Kinleo can exist, how come? You know what?
Never
mind.
Kinleo, and I'll give the reason why. Kinleo's a 3, and its native Nexuser does not boost its attack by 3. That's one of the biggest reasons. Its Nexus Bank doesn't do as much as Demeter, and it's a 3 attack. And Cryoblastable. And Equilinx being a 3 defense, it's crazy. Wild.
I hate the reasons. I hate it.
It's strong.
It makes sense. I hate that it makes sense. I can't argue it. All right, fine. It just hurt me, but all right. Trish, what about you? What's your hot take?
All right. Kind of same neighborhood as Equilinx, at least in the idea of Nexus and Spirits on board. But Argo been good card, right? That's been the whole discussion of this podcast. Argo, good card.
Yeah.
I'm going back to my roots. Argo bad. Argo bad is my hot take.
Why? Explain. Why?
Argo is super, super good when people forget it exists. And then once it exists, Argo bad.
But isn't there a thing such as fear of the known? Like when you know it's there, you have to warp your entire play around it about it just possibly being there. Is that still not a problem?
No, not necessarily, because I think that what happens is once you know that there can be an Argo, you can start building your deck to just not lose to Argos. Or to...
Are you going to start building your deck to not lose to Argo?
I already have, baby. Already have. But all right. I will asterisk my own hot take, which is that I think Argo good when we get Firestorm. But that's not today. That's not today. We still got a few months.
You're right. That's not today. That's not today. What is today is still Galaxy. That card is still showing up in lists, and I wish it would go away. But
I have another hot take.
It is.
Don't say Galaxy bad.
Galaxy bad.
Shut up. Anyway,
it wasn't in my Dallas list, and it wasn't in yours either. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's true.
That's all I'm gonna say. Whale bad.
Only because you couldn't fit the water. Did you choose Eddie either?
Yeah.
Eddie was in there.
Oh, we had extra water.
Eddie crazy card.
Wait, is Eddie in there?
Yeah. We had like what, 4 water? 3 water?
Eddie is in there. Oh, you know what?
All I'm gonna say.
I stand correct.
Whale bad.
So hear me out. Hear me out. This actually goes into my thing. We're gonna celebrate the first 4 sets of Elestrals right now. Real quick, don't think too hard about it. I want both of you guys to give me your Mount Rushmore of the first 4 sets of Elestrals. But you gotta choose 1 card from each set. The starter decks do count.
Ooh. 1 card from each set. Mount
1 card
Rushmore.
from each set.
Do we have to agree, or do we get our own Rushmore?
No. Individual.
Okay.
Individual.
Okay.
So it's a collective hot take from everybody. So my Mount Rushmore from the first 4 sets. From base set, it goes to Galaxy. From Frostfall, it goes to Lavalith. Daybreak claims Eddie, and Moonrise, I'm going Lunar Phase for Moon. No explanation. That's what I think it is. Swole, what about you?
All right, this is kind of a weird one. Base set, I think I'm gonna go with Pentara. I like the fact we get the mascot in there, kind of like the draw there.
Ooh, Astrabbit from base.
See that, and that would be that's normally I'd be like, it's gotta be Astrabbit, but no, we're going for Pentara for mine. I think for Frostfall, I'm gonna put in Parawatt because let's go, baby.
Yeah, baby, and Parawatts. We hate Josh.
It's Josh. For a Daybreak, I'm gonna give it to Mudlet. I think Mudlet is like a really big standout from the set. Love Mudlet. Moonrise. Oh God, Moonrise.
Tough one.
This is actually kind of hard. But if I have to give it to one from Moonrise, it's gonna have to be Snowlet. I'll give it to the El Diablo here, the BlizzTricks stuff.
Not BlizzTricks, just Snowlet specifically?
I like Snowlet, BlizzTricks. They ban that card. Hot take, ban that card.
Not a hot
Fair
take.
enough.
Not a hot take at all.
Yeah.
Ban it to play the proper ratios. That's how you do it.
There you go.
Trish, no explanation. Your Mount Rushmore of the first 4 sets.
I have no idea how neither of you guys said Astrabbit for base set.
I know. I'm sorry, but
it's gotta be the bunny.
causes more discourse than anything.
It's gotta be the Thunder Bunny mind control. Like
true. True.
You found a way to fit in.
We found a way, baby. So number 1 gotta be the rabbit. Number 2, I think it's got to be the crab, right? The Moss Station out of
Moss Station, yeah.
Yeah, out of Frostfall. That was probably one of my favorite cards out of that set.
You want to know why I forget that came in Frostfall? Because I never pulled that card from all the Frostfall boxes open. I never pulled a hollow Moss Station. I had to get mine elsewhere. I forgot it came in that set. I thought it was just Shadow Sword exclusive.
Yep. And then set 3, I mean, that's Solar, baby! Solar!
All of Solar is your
I mean, realistically, I can't pick one, but I'll put Lustragon there, because that's my Pookie.
Okay.
Or actually, I'll say Jatara's cute. Jatara's cuter.
If you pick Exaltair or Exaltus, you can choose them all.
No, I choose Jatara. I would bag for Pentara. I have my playset of my Stellars. I love them. And then set 4, it's got to be Werepup. I love that funny little dog. I don't think I've choose a single deck without that card since it's come out.
All right. No explanations. Let us know your Mount Rushmore in the comment section below while we start talking about the Bubbled Warriors from Dallas Open 2025. We're expanding the Bubble Warriors list from 9th to 16th to 16th to 32nd because there were just so many people in this event. We gotta dig deep and show some love. And today's deck we're going to be showing in Bubble Warriors is from JT Smith and their deck that they called Voltempest Strongest Bean Soldier. Why are we always being taunted by that man? His name is always just popping up around us.
I think we need to like actually get data to see if Josh is the most referenced player in decklist titles.
It's gotta be.
I can see that.
Yeah, because I think every deck I've submitted for the past year has had him referenced in my decklist titles, and I know I'm not the only person doing that.
JT's list has 2 Cockatoo in his side, Divine Blessing in his side, has a native play for Hurricane in the main deck, and is utilizing Voltempest, a card that essentially cannot be touched when Zeus, which is at 3 in this list, cannot be touched. Zeus may not have shown up in finals, but it was darn sure represented here. There's also a small win package with Galaxair, P-Gus, Sorlet as well. A very straightforward deck that, looks understandable on the surface. So Trish, break this list down. What do you think about Voltempest as a meta call for Dallas 2025?
I think Voltempest is always a solid card. I think if you can get a Voltempest on the board, you're never feeling bad about it. I don't know about specifically as a meta call, but I do think that it has a very good time against BlueStacks. If you get it down on the board and you're against Blizz, they're not going to have a good time with that. They do not want to be taking all those free spirit damages. So, Voltempest, strong card, and I think what I would actually say is the better meta call, not even the Voltempest, but the Sorlets. Sorlet is surprisingly very, very good against BlueStacks because it has that 5 stat on a change position Elestral, and you're able to get over the Moroliths when they go to defense. You're able to get around the Asprowls when they go to defense. You're able to switch the Cedar Swords back to attack and get over them. So personally, I think that's the meta call that I really like out of this deck list.
Yeah, just being able to switch positions, and there's nothing else that switches position on a 5-body. Muttlit's a 3/3, Eddie's a 4/1, and can only do it on receive and cast respectively. But even though it's expensive, the fact that you have a 5-body that can consistently get over bodies, as you just mentioned, Trish, is absolutely threatening. And then you have cards like Galaxair, which is similar to Sorlet, but doesn't cost much. It can easily out in a Stratton or something like that. Is this a list that you would pilot, Swole? Like, can you see yourself running this list? And are there any changes that you would make to this list?
Oh yeah, I think Voltempest in terms of like Thunder, like playing Thunder, is probably one of the better ways to play it right now. So I would definitely try to experiment or run with a deck like this. The only changes to JT's list I would probably make are the P-Gust. I love P-Gust, but P-Gust in terms of grander impact compared to something like the Galaxy that you mentioned is maybe up for question. One single Boombat in the main, I probably would just play the third Quackle. The one Boombat could come up, but just go for the consistency. And that's probably the only changes I can see that I'd probably make offhand. Again, the big thing with Voltempest is Voltempest is really strong, but it also kind of folds to the rest of the problems with bigger decks that want to really bust out these larger Elestrals. Is if you can win Keep Away, TTAs, Shields, Gorgons, then Voltempest sticks, you're chilling. If you can't do that, Thunder can sometimes struggle. So I think for sure I'd want to experiment. And I think this list is solid though. Other than maybe 1 or 2 cards, this thing is killer.
I really want to see Divine Blessing come into play more. That card, when your opponent activates an Invoke Rune, you can disenchant from your field in order to negate it. I don't know if it destroys as well, but I know it negates it. And it's a really interesting card that I think decks that like to build wide, get a bunch of spirits on board, can really take advantage of. So I'm glad that they had it in the side, and I want to know how that played into effect for them. But you know, I have to get JT on the line and talk to him about that. Another list I want to talk about is BlueStacks list. They are utilizing Posthumoose in order to really just threaten their opponent. And he's been kind of one-tricking Posthumoose lately, and everyone knows it, but can you stop it? We've been seeing Farlet search Artemis, and then cast out a Commentators to threaten out a Posthumoose the next turn. We even saw BlueStacks try to turbo out Posthumoose in round 2, game 2, where we saw 3 Commentators get played out. Commentators got cast out, and it got destroyed, and then the second one got cast out, got PTA'd. It searched the third Commentators, and then the third Commentators was able to search out the Posthumoose, and I believe they won that game. Slight spoiler, but still, just a really good, consistent engine. Do you think that engines like this, and we know A-Drive has spoken that he wants divine searches to be played like this more. Trish, do you think that Fallen, Artemis, Commentators, these small packages are going to be more consistent in the future, or do you think that this is just a small engine that only a Posthumoose player or a Luna player can play right now?
So I think that we've definitely seen some of these consistency engines get played more, like stuff like Werepub and Harpoon. You know, just more cards to start your deck off on turn 1, and that's been great. That's been great. Love Brewlock, but I'll say the same thing I told him when he was taking me to locals a little while ago. Is I don't know about the Posthumoose strategy, just because, you know, the Fawnlet, the Artemis, they're kind of small, and you know, you're searching that Artemis and it doesn't do too much on the board itself. But if you get it off, all I'm saying, you're probably winning.
Yeah, I mean, Fawnlet does lose to Spectaris on attack because it's boosted. Its defense is boosted by the amount of spirits enchanting the Artemis. So you can make it a 7 defense, but Spectaris looks at that and just laughs. Like, no, I see a 3. I see through your charade. I see a 3. But is like the engine idea with Commentators being able to search, very similar to Exalted, being able to search out a Spectre, I want to say Spectre type, Elestral. Swole, are you thinking about playing this in a Luna aggro build? Are you thinking of playing this with an engine? Do you think that something like this will be more effective when Artemis becomes more effective, or when we get a new Lunar Divine?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because Artemis has a lot of really good utility. Like it's I think it's deceptively powerful. You know, for example, we talked about Galaxy. Galaxy, if you suppress the Galaxy with Artemis, it'll last for until the end of the opponent's turn. So you can maybe, like, you know, play a little more defensively with it, which is great. And then, like I said, Posthumoose is strong. That card's very scary. Commentators being able to get out, you know, extra copies of Spectaris, able to get extra copies of the Posthumoose, or also get extra copies of, like, you know, Pharaohgeist. So this whole little engine is pretty powerful. And the fact that Brewlock is consistently putting up, like, fairly good results in tournaments against some of the best players in the game is scary. So I don't really know exactly what's going to tip it over the edge, but it feels like it's right there. It feels like it's like right there to just like wreck and like wreak havoc.
I prefer Pharaohgeist. I just want to say that. I know it's not right. I still prefer it. Tablet, full art, whatever. Stellar, maybe. Who wants to give me a Stellar? Hit me up. I'll give you my PO box. We'll talk about it. But yeah, I think that that's a really interesting play, and I'm glad that Brewlock is staying so consistent with it. If there's one thing that we know about, especially if we consider our champion Bo, is that when someone sticks with a deck, they're gonna break through sooner or later. So I'm expecting Brewlock to show up in Top Cut, maybe even finals with Posthumoose sooner than later.
Yep.
Yeah.
With that said, I want to talk about our champion. They faced Stellar Kristoff in round 5, and this match has everything that you love about Elestrals. So let's get into the spotlight. Remember that all these matches can be seen on the Elestrals YouTube channel. Just click on the live tab, find the page by the thumbnail, and watch all of these to your convenience. We are 8 rounds in Swiss, and then there's a top 16 cut. So make sure you guys go show your love and check out all of these matches. But I want to highlight round 5 because, again, it shows everything you love about Elestrals. So game 1, we saw Lustragon being cast out by Bo, being buffed up with a golden fleece, and we also saw Sonic Core out by Kristoff using it to out the Lustragon with Mount Olympus up. We are seeing Ascensions being played more often, and it's such a premier event such as the Dallas Open. Swole, what do you think about 2 calls? Not Doppelganger that can be cheated out using effects, but something where you have to hard cast it, like Sonic Core, which can protect your Elestrals, and Lustragon, which is a big dude and can Nexus to pop on every single turn. Do you think that this is going to go further in the future, and are there any 2-drops you're eyeing?
Yes. So to all those questions, the answer is yes. So the thing with 2-drops is really cool, and this specific match highlights well. Both players are on things like Lustragon and Sonic Core, which historically have been kind of hard to stick. But there's several game states now in the meta that you can like your chances of putting down a 2-drop Elestral is so much higher now. So the question will always be, what are those really big, impactful 2-drops? And Lustragon and Sonic Core are some of the best ones. I know from talking to Christoph and Bo throughout the event that these 2 were, like, cards were just, you know, insane all day. So I think that's really cool. I think in the future we will also start to see like these larger 2-drops matter a little bit more. Hestia, you know, they can special cast out a 1-drop, and then you can ascend with like a Lavalith or even like the Rummikul or Scavicle line, which is really cool. One that I'm eyeing right now specifically is like Draco Ray. And Draco Ray is like a very strong one. We see it a little bit in solar decks, but the fact that you get a 7 body that can also heal is cool. And then again, in the future, I know Firestorm's got some really killer 2-drops that I cannot wait to mess with. So yeah, I think 2-drops will start to see a little more play, and it's really cool to see these 2 in action during this round.
There are 3 2-drops that I am extremely interested in playing, and I play them active right now. And Fornax being one of them, I feel like casting a Fornax into an open game state is pretty much a win condition right in and of itself. Because, I mean, bouncing every single turn, what are they going to do? And you're hitting for 2. It's actual advantage in game state progression, not, you know, for a 1 cost. Vasubatuga, I haven't quite figured out Vasubatuga, but I believe in Vasubatuga, so just give me a bit. I'm gonna get there. Dan, let me just design the archetype around Vasuba, all right? Hit me up. And 3, this is one of my babies, Cryoblast. 8-4 body, can attack directly. You use Tower of Winds, it comes up with 3 enchanting spirits on it. It heals 2 on damage dealt. I think Cryoblast is insane, and not many people are really showing it love. What about you, Trish? What 2-drops are you eyeing?
Well, I don't know about right now, but I'm definitely looking forward to the new Champion Artemis Lycavoid. That card just has my mind just soaring with ideas.
With that? Who made a Michelin star Elestral? Why would you do that? 6'5"?
6'5", 7'3", baby!
Crazy
oh my!
card.
Like, we already have Nectar. Now we just come on. I don't know who said that was okay. Well, I guess Dan, creator A Drive, said it was okay, but I'm not okay with it. Jesus, yeah, Champion of Artemis Lycavoid is going to be insane. So, you know, get your full moons now. Get your full moons now.
I'm just so excited because, like I said, like Werepup's one of my favorite cards of this format. So seeing that it gets even better next format just makes me so happy. But you know, looking at the present, especially thanks to the inspiration from our champion Bo, I kind of want to go back to messing with Solar. I've had my fun. I've done my try-harding for the format. I might go back and play some Lustragon again. Got to dust off the Stellars. So
I just dropped something.
I'm excited.
Yeah, let's go. Cards. I mean, hey, don't forget Heliolith is there. It is a 2-drop.
That's right. Let's go.
Shouts to Bo.
Heliolith is also
Speaking of Helios, speaking of broken cards, Game 2 had an insane play. I don't even... Swole, you were talking about it, you saw it earlier. Game 2, the way that Game 2 closed out with a really, what seemed to be full controlled board by Stella Kristoff. We suddenly saw Scyther Demeter cast out by Bo, attached to one of Kristoff's Elestrals, cast out Heliolith, bouncing one of those Elestrals, the one that wasn't equipped with Scyther Demeter, then using the Earth Spirits off of Demeter to cast Earthquake, clear the other one, and hit for 2 for game.
It was
and he just did it like it was the easiest, most simple thing in the world.
Yep. Yeah.
You were there. What was your reaction when you saw that?
So, like, kind of like you said, like the actual sequence of events is really cool, and that whole combo is interesting. for a lot of people, like I know for myself, I know for like MBT doing the commentary, the speed in which Bo did it at, because it's like another day in the office, walk in the park. Oh yeah, I knew how to do this the entire time. It's like Bo has been in the Matrix in that scenario before and was like, yeah, this is how I would do that. And this is one of the reasons why I love watching Bo play and Bo work with this strategy, is that there are just probably so many scenarios we don't know about that a player like Bo can just whip out a combo to blow everyone's minds and be like, yeah, I did that yesterday in practice, no big deal. Incredible. It was so cool. Yeah.
It's very similar to like Zeus and Cryoblast. Like no one really thought about how that would interact, and then suddenly we saw on the stream, it's like, oh, we can kill
insane.
Galaxy. Like, yeah, it's absolutely insane. So I'm excited about that. But that play. Game 3, Trish. This is what I really want your opinion on.
Yeah.
We saw Argo and Necklace. We talked about these two cards earlier. It absolutely ruined Chris's push in the match at 6-12-30 in the actual VOD. Argo and Necklace ruined it. But what helped Bose cinch the win here, spoiler alert, is Bo's spirit management. Because not only did Bo manage their spirit management well to give himself the best odds, but understood what their win con was. And because Lumaru milled the Toxion, which I want to talk about in a little bit, and also another was KO'd by Lumaru to mill the second Toxion, put himself in the best winning position, considering a third Toxion is not likely right now. How important is spirit management, Trish? How much is that a consideration, not only in deck building, but in every turn of a clash?
I think that it's probably the most important skill that you can have playing Elestrals. I know that early on in, Elestrals lifespan, like a year ago when I first started playing, a lot of people would just be playing, twice as many spirits as they might need because they don't want to run out, right? And as we've gone on, I've pushed for this a lot, is you got to get comfortable playing with those low spirit counts, because eventually you're going to get into a game state where you only have a couple spirits anyway. You got to know which ones are the ones you need.
Quick.
Yeah,
that mid game comes quick.
It hits hard too. And I think that is a place where games can really start to fall apart, is if you mismanage early, then, that mid game comes and then goes quickly. So I think that having good spirit management really is the key to success in this game.
It clearly showed, because it was the reason why Bo was able to secure this game how they did, and it is a masterclass of how to manage not only your spirits, but your Elestrals in the game. I think that the spirits and Elestrals is the bread and butter. It is the full charm. Because not only, if you can simplify it and just say, oh, it's your mana, it's your life, but when you really get into the meat and potatoes of it, spirit management, whether it's from Underworld, whether it's from Field, whether it's from how you're healing them back, whether you're utilizing for the cards, etc., it really just turns this game up to 11. Because it's not just about having the right cards in your main deck, it's about having the right spirits to do it. When I realized spirits are like what they do, my third eye opened for Elestrals. So if you're trying to introduce anyone to Elestrals, I would show them spirits, tell them everything spirits do, because once they get it, they're going to get into Elestrals. They're going to hop on Elestrals, as they say.
Hop on Elestrals.
Hop on Elestrals. So, this was fun. This is a very long conversation. 1 hour, 20 minutes recording. Hopefully it's about an hour post-editing. Give it up for the editor dealing with us yapping.
Only 5 more minutes than the last time.
Yeah, right.
I ain't say it. If you guys enjoyed, that like button is your friend. Look forward to Firestorm. That set is releasing very soon. It's coming up in May, and pre-orders are open now. Visit shopelestrals.com to get your pre-orders in. I am thrilled about that set, and you can visit every card that is in the set on collect.elestrals.com. Hey, did you know that casual tournaments exist? Go on Tuesdays to the Elestrals community Discord, and you can join the casual tournament tournaments to just try out a new deck, such as many people. I mean, even Swole just tested out a whole new deck at a tournament not long ago. So if you guys want to try out a whole new deck, Casual Tuesdays is for you. You can try the new deck, meet some new people, get that grind group. Because if there's one thing that I noticed, and it's that Top Cut had people from testing groups. That there were two main groups there. It was both, and wow, both testing groups were represented in the finals.
That's right.
They were.
That's cool. Find some friends, get a testing group, do the darn thing. But with that all said and done, that is my time today. Swole, Trish, thank y'all for joining me today.
Thank you for having us on. Big appreciate it.
Great being here.
It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to hearing everyone's Mount Rushmore from the first 4 sets in those comments. But for right now, it is time for us to dip. Say hi, guys, and we'll see y'all next class.
Can I leave us with one last thing before we head out?
Just warm it short.
Go Cryoblast!
Go Girls Gorge!
Let's go! Bye-bye.
Yeah, we're gonna cut it. We can just cut it right there.
Bye-bye, PK. Love you. Bye-bye.